Hello, and welcome to Healthy California podcast. My name is Linda Brown, and I am the host of Healthy California, where my goal is to help educate you on your daily choices so we all can become healthy. I believe you, your family, your neighbor, and your community are all looking for better ways and simple ways to return to being healthy. Many of you have health issues or have family that's going through tough times that seemingly have no answers. It's frustrating. There are questions about health, environment, foods, exercise, and lifestyle, and it can be all overwhelming. And who do you believe? And where's the science behind it? This podcast will unravel the mystery behind being unhealthy and talk about little things that we can do in our lives to make a positive change in our health from all angles. So to be healthy, we need to have physical health, mental health, environmental health, financial and social health, and of course, spiritual health. Let's answer some of these questions to get healthy. What good is just listening to a podcast? I will give you resources as well, ways to take steps and make positive changes in your life to becoming healthy. This is a journey, not an assignment, so be kind to yourself. Okay, welcome California. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Healthy California. Today I am talking about something everyone needs absolutely, and that is sleep. Why is sleep so important? It's a third of our life, and we just lay there, and we could be doing so much more. Why do we need to sleep? Sleep is very important. So lack of sleep leads to chronic inflammation. And if you don't know what I mean by chronic inflammation, then you can go back and listen to my episode number 5. I explain chronic inflammation. It's a big deal. So lack of sleep leads to chronic inflammation, increased risk of chronic pain, pretty much chronic everything, right? So chronic pain, cardiovascular disease, which is a chronic disease, cancer, neurological disorders, gastrointestinal disorders, obesity, diabetes, inflammatory disorders, brain disorders such as dementia and Alzheimer's. Depression and anxiety can worsen if you don't have sleep. And then, of course, you have just the increase of accidents and accidents on the road, accidents at work, and then decreased work productivity. So we all know that when we have daylight savings, there is an increased accident rate, right? So raise your hand right now if you want to get rid of daylight savings. Yes, I do too. And I really can't see your hand. So, so sleep is important and we don't prioritize it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The National Institute of Health reports 60 million adults struggle with insomnia. Insomnia is lack of sleep. And only 13 ever really tell their doctor about it. And then usually when you tell your doctor, they give you sleep aids anyways. And some reports show that it's closer to like 30% of adults. There's different types of insomnia. There's sleep onset insomnia and there's sleep maintenance insomnia. So sleep onset insomnia is just not being able to fall asleep. You can't onset your sleep. So sleep onset insomnia can be from like anxiety, stress, environmental change, emotional arousal, which emotional arousal could be you watching a scary movie before you go to bed. Fear of insomnia could lead to insomnia. A phobia of sleep could lead to you not being able to fall asleep. So phobia of sleep, if you go back when you first realized when you were having problems sleeping, what was going on in your life at that time that caused you to have insomnia? So phobia of sleep could be, way back in my childhood, I didn't have a very safe place to sleep. So that could be a reason, right? And if you are identifying that you have problems falling asleep because of something that was happening in your history, then you might want to seek a therapist or a counselor for that and get that resolved because sleep is absolutely important. Another reason you might not be able to fall asleep would be disruptive environment. Do you sleep over a nightclub? Do you have your neighbors fighting? Do you have your dog down the street barking? Is your dog or cat throwing up on the carpet at 2 o'clock in the morning? All those could lead to not being able to fall asleep. And also pain and caffeine are reasons for sleep onset insomnia. So now sleep maintenance insomnia, you can fall asleep, but then not able to stay asleep. And that can come from depression, environmental changes being like maybe you're sleeping in a hotel or you're traveling, so you're not in your nice, comfortable bed. Sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is the number one cause for sleep maintenance insomnia. So sleep apnea is the most common. If you have a sleep tracker or a smartwatch or an Oura Ring, and you have less than 85% efficiency in your sleep, then that's problematic. So you have to have 85 and above. You're starting to get into the process of having chronic problems. And then one night of sleep deprivation can alter cells and increase inflammatory markers. Even just one night of sleep can lead to inflammation. So now imagine if you had multiple nights of lack of sleep. Yeah, it's a problem. And then if you have sleep apnea, you actually have periods of time when your brain isn't getting oxygen. And those periods of time that you're not breathing could be 20 times in an hour or hundreds of times during the night. And lack of oxygen to the brain is not the reason why you feel tired in the morning. Lack of oxygen to the brain is actually damaging the brain. Your brain needs oxygen and it's not getting it, and it's actually damaging your brain. Sleep apnea is a big deal. If you have it, then you need to comply with what your doctor gave you. Like if you have a CPAP machine, that's the number one fix for sleep apnea. So a lot of people have like a CPAP machine but don't like to use it, but you absolutely need to use it if you have it. And then one of the biggest reasons for having sleep apnea is having weight on you that is a little excessive. So not everyone that has sleep apnea has increased weight, but if you have sleep apnea and you don't want to use that machine, the CPAP, then find ways that you can lose the weight. You're literally damaging your brain by not getting enough sleep. Okay, what else? So that was sleep apnea. Other reasons that you wake up in the middle of the night. Maybe you have restless leg syndrome, hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia means that your blood sugar is really low. If you are waking up with really low blood sugar, that's a sign that your glucose levels aren't able to regulate. So that's kind of a sign that you're headed towards diabetes right there. So that would be a red flag. Another reason you might wake up in the middle of the night is just because you have pain. Maybe, your back hurts or you're not sleeping in a comfortable bed. So just pain in general can cause you to wake up at night. Drugs or alcohol. So people think that drugs and alcohol can help you sleep. It can help you fall asleep initially, but it doesn't help you stay asleep, and it definitely doesn't get you into the REM sleep, rapid eye movement. That phase of sleep you don't get when you fall asleep to alcohol or drugs. And even drugs like sleep aid drugs can make you fall asleep, maybe even sustain the sleep, but you don't get that deep, restful REM sleep. What else? So increased cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. If you have increased stress, increased cortisol, you're not going to be able to sleep. And so cortisol is that stress hormone that gets secreted when you are running from that tiger. Of course, you're not going to want to sleep if you're running from a tiger. Increased cortisol, and when you have increased cortisol, you have other hormones in your body, the melatonin and the insulin, they're all being affected by increased cortisol and by not having good sleep. When you sleep, you have your insulin, your cortisol, your melatonin, your estrogens, your sex hormones, growth hormones are all ebbing and flowing while you sleep. So if you don't have good sleep, you are not gonna have good hormone control. Let's see what else. Blue light exposure before bed can disrupt your melatonin levels. When you have light coming in through your eyeballs, through your retina, it goes straight back, hits that pineal gland, and once that light hits that pineal gland, shunts the secretion of melatonin. So you're not actually secreting any melatonin. You need to cut out any of your light, blue light especially, about 2 hours before bed. Okay, what other things? Nutrient deficiencies, going to the bathroom at night can all be part of, going to the bathroom at night, that is waking you up at night. So we need to figure out why you're going to the bathroom at night. Women are more likely to suffer from insomnia, and that's because, especially as women get older, because their estrogen levels drop. And estrogen blocks the neurotransmitters that will wake you up. So if you have estrogen, it's going to keep you in the ebbs and flows of your hormones. It'll help you sleep, actually. If you're one of those people who are afraid to take hormone replacement therapy, I really highly recommend that you rethink that, because the studies they did way back, I don't know, I think it's 20 years ago now, that resulted in women having an increased risk for cancer, those have all been negated. And if you, after 20 years, if you still think that hormone replacement is a bad idea, then you're 20 years behind. And your doctor who thinks that is 20 years behind the research. That research was done when they were using synthetic hormones. And we don't recommend synthetic estrogen replacement. If you can find a hormone replacement through your doctor that's bioidentical hormones, the benefits outweigh the risks. So not having estrogen is definitely more of a risk than having the estrogen. We know here that if you are low in estrogen, you can get insomnia, and we know that if you have insomnia, it leads to a whole cascade of inflammatory processes and diseases. So I went down a rabbit hole on that, but it's really important that you get sleep, and if you are low in estrogen, get your estrogen levels checked and get that figured out. I mean, sex hormones in general modulate the melatonin. As we age, our sex hormones, male and female, they start to decrease, so does your melatonin. So that needs to be addressed as well. Okay, those are the sleep maintenance insomnia and sleep onset insomnia. So let's figure out, really why is it important to sleep? So when you sleep, your body secretes growth hormone. You think, well, I'm not growing anymore. Why does that matter? Well, we need growth hormone to regenerate tissue, so to heal, to regenerate the liver, and the liver is constantly detoxing and changing and filtering our body. And we need growth hormone to build muscle. We need growth hormone to break down fat stores. And we need growth hormone for blood sugar regulation. If growth hormone secretes while you sleep and you're not sleeping, all that's being affected. That's one of the reasons why it's very important to get a good night's sleep. Another reason is the brain detoxifies while it's sleeping. If your brain's not flushing all the toxins out at night, then those toxins just sit there, and then we have brain fog and dementia and Alzheimer's and all the things that come along with your nerves being affected. So your brain needs to flush and detox during the night. So we have a lymph system, right? So the lymph system in our body is our immune system highway. And this lymph system also, our brain has its own lymph system. So all that needs to be flushed during the night when we're sleeping. So we need to sleep. My dog is sleeping right now. You can hear him. He's barking there in the background. He's definitely in his REM sleep right now. When we sleep, we heal. When we sleep, we grow. When we sleep, we recover, repair, and replenish. So we need to be sleeping. It's absolutely important that we get a good night's sleep. Rest is a gift from God. Sleep is seen as a blessing and is as essential as anything else. And that's the reason why it's 1/3 of our life. I want to take a second to share a helpful resource with you. I have a free health questionnaire designed to pinpoint the areas in your life that you need to focus on for optimal wellness. If you're interested, simply click the link in the show notes or visit heal-throughfood.com to access it. Now let's dive back into the show. You shouldn't see sleep as just a waste of time. You should see it as a blessing, really. I mean, we get to rest and repair 1/3 of our life. So in Psalms 127:2, it says, "He gives to his beloved even in their sleep." That means that even while we're sleeping, we're being taken care of. Whatever is supposed to happen in our life is still going to happen. We don't have to be awake and wait for it, or try to work, or try to force it to happen. So we're being taken care of. So sleep, because we're supposed to, we're meant to, and see it as a gift. So there's two types of sleep. There's REM and non-REM. REM stands for rapid eye movement, and that's when your eyes are kind of, when you've seen someone sleep and their eyes are fluttering, and my dog was just in REM right now. Actually, he is right now. His legs are jerking and his eyes are... So he's in REM sleep as we speak. REM sleep is important. We have different phases of sleep, but with REM sleep, that's when we are taking our daily activities and making sense of it and filing it away. And so that's what gives us our memory, and we're able to file all our activities away in the form of memory. So we have better memory when we sleep. That's also when we dream. When we're in REM, we're dreaming, we're filing things away. And if we don't have that REM phase of sleep, then we don't dream. If you don't remember your dreams when you wake up, that's kind of a red flag as well. You are probably not getting REM sleep, or not enough of it, or it happened in a different time of the night that you don't remember it by the time you wake up. So if you are waking up slowly and you're trying to remember your dreams, that's the best thing you could do to recall your REM, is to just wake up slowly and try to recall what you just dreamt. That is REM sleep. What are some of the causes of not being able to sleep? Well, some of the causes some of the main causes are alcohol. Again, we sleep, alcohol can help us to go to sleep, but it definitely doesn't help us to stay asleep, and it doesn't get us into the REM sleep. So we don't have good quality sleep. Caffeine, of course, and that includes chocolate, wah, wah. So if you eat chocolate has a little bit of caffeine in it. Nicotine and stimulants or sedating drugs are reasons for insomnia. So this is like long-term use of nicotine, stimulants, and sedating drugs. So sedating drugs, you think, well, that's going to help you sleep. But again, it doesn't help you with the quality of sleep and the REM sleep. And then causes of insomnia could be night pain, medications that disrupt the circadian rhythm. So if you go to my show notes, there's a link there that will tell you what medications are affecting your sleep, disrupting your circadian rhythm. What else causes it? Restless leg syndrome, shift work. If you have a late night shift, jet lag, of course, we know that. And then stress. So stress is that running from the tiger, but there is good stress and bad stress. So good stress might be you're going to Disneyland tomorrow morning and you just can't wait. So that's a good stress, but stress is stress. So if you have stress, that could cause insomnia. Irregular sleep schedule, such as napping. Sometimes when we nap too long, then we end up staying awake later, and then we stay awake later and we still get up at the same time the next morning and we're tired, so we drink coffee. By the afternoon, we need another dose of coffee, and we take a nap, and then before you know it, you're going to bed later and later, you're needing more and more caffeine, and you're needing more and more naps. That can affect your sleep and cause insomnia. Exposure to light before bed. Again, we talked about that, suppresses melatonin. Sound can be, if you sleep with a white noise or brown noise, that's not the sound I'm talking about. I'm talking about sound of your cat hacking up a hairball in the middle of the night, or the dog down the street barking, or someone honking down the street. Sound is going to affect your sleep. Temperature, of course, we know temperature. The cooler the better. We are more sensitive to hot than we are to cold when we sleep. And then your bedding quality. What is your bedding quality like? Are you on a hard mattress? Are you on a 50-year-old mattress? Is your pillow a good pillow? All that matters. So if you have insomnia, all this matters. Let me go through this real quickly again. Alcohol, caffeine, night pain medications, restless leg syndrome, shift work, jet lag, stress, irregular sleep schedule, exposure to light, sound, temperature, and then bedding quality. All that can affect or cause insomnia. So then what do you do about it? So let's figure out what to do about it. Well, you need to track it, for one thing. The one thing that you can pretty much bank on to know if you have sleep apnea, because you may not even know it, is if your your spouse tells you that you snore at night. Or the best way to know if you have sleep apnea is if someone tells you. So and if you don't have anyone to tell you, then wearable. A wearable device would be something like a smart watch that will track your sleep, or like an Oura ring that will track your sleep. And it would be good to know what your average sleep score is and try to get it, close to 90. Anything above 85 is best. So track it. So a wearable. And then you need to just pay attention to your sleep routine and try to improve your sleep routine. Just be aware of it at first so that you can make changes to it. Proper nutrition is something that you can do to sleep better. So proper nutrition I'm not just talking about like don't drink coffee before bed. I'm talking about eating too much food before bed and having a full stomach, or eating sweets before bed can get your blood sugar dysregulated. Exercise is also important during the day. And I'm not talking about exercise right before you go to sleep, but movement throughout the day is important. Is very important, actually. And then if you go for a walk, do it in the morning, because the sunlight on your face in the morning is the best time to regulate your circadian rhythm. But if you're not a morning person and if you're not up bright early in the morning when the sun comes up, then just really any sun on your face during the day is really good for getting a good night's sleep. The secret to a good night's sleep is to have a good day's wake. So what are you doing during the day to make sure that you're sleeping good at night? So nutrition, exercise, sun on your face. And then sleep aids, even cannabis, they actually don't promote that REM phase of sleep. So even sleep aids, we take sleep aids to sleep, but we don't get that deep quality sleep with that. So I don't want you to depend on the sleep aids if you can avoid it. But melatonin and tryptophan are, we've all heard of melatonin to help sleep. Melatonin is different because we have melatonin in our body. So our body knows what to do with it. It's not a drug, it's a hormone actually. And same thing with tryptophan. Tryptophan isn't a hormone, but it's an amino acid. So our body knows what to do with it. If you're going to take anything for a sleep aid, try the melatonin, less than 3 milligrams, even start out with 1 milligram. And then you can try L-tryptophan as well. Other things you can try are valerian root, passion flower. I drink passion flower tea and take a passion flower tincture if I'm not sleeping very well. L-theanine, again, is an amino acid. Lemon balm teas can help. Saffron, jasmine, all those can help with sleep. And they're all natural, all of those. What else can you do? Reduce the noise. If you live in an area where you just can't help the cars that are up and around you at night, then you might even just want to think about getting like a white noise or a brown noise to try to mask all the surrounding noise. So then there's the sleep hygiene. Part of the sleep hygiene is just like winding down. Winding down just means starting to get ready to sleep. So winding down would be starting to turn the lights down low. Once the sun goes down, start turning the lights down low. Get all the fluorescent lights off. Fluorescent lights are bad for the eyes. And start turning like your red lights on, lights that are facing downwards toward the floor, just the amber lights that are going to be easing on the eyes. Start winding down and getting ready to actually sleep. And then part of sleep hygiene, I said, was exercise, 10 minutes of sun directly to the face in the morning. And that was something I learned recently, the 10 minutes of direct sun in the face. And that was by the National Sleep Foundation. I have a link to that in my show notes as well. And of course, limit your caffeine, eat healthy during the day, sleep in total darkness. And sleeping in total darkness, complete darkness, is ideal because of that light that comes in through your eyes to turn off your melatonin. And total darkness, people think that, well, my eyes are closed, there's no light coming through. And that's false. Even the small little tiny light on your phone charger across the room still can get into your eye through your eyelids and affect you. If you're sensitive to light, you can get blackout shades to cut off all the lights coming from the street lights, the stars, the moon. And you can wear a sleeping mask. That helps. So you want to have complete darkness when you sleep. And then sleep in a cool room. And then the most important thing, finally, the final last thing that's the hardest is limit your screen time. So screen time means phones, computers, TVs. Turn all that off at least 2 hours before bed. Because if your melatonin is shunted or blunted because of light, it takes about 2 hours for that melatonin to secrete again. In the evening, when you are getting ready for bed, go through your routine, turn off the TV, stay off your phone, and just start to wind down. And you can read a book, but don't read a book that is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, something that's going to stress you out. But don't watch the news, don't read the news. Just start to wind down and get prepared to sleep. So I hope you learned something from this today. This is really important. I can't say enough about how important sleep is. And I think even last week I mentioned that people that have good quality sleep actually lose weight if they have weight to lose, because the body is able to repair, recover, and replenish. The best weight loss strategy, if that's what you want to do, is to sleep. That's the number one thing you should do above all else, is get a good night's sleep and make a habit of it. I will talk to you guys next week. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new. Health care and treatment should focus on being proactive and preventative, emphasizing the importance of addressing the root cause of a disease or illness. While the U.S. has an excellent trauma medicine system, helping patients when problems arise, our goals should be to prevent disease before they happen. That's why this podcast is so important to me. If you're needing further guidance or have questions on a particular matter, you can find my contact information in the show notes, where you can set up a 15-minute consultation. I also recommend you adding a functional nutritionist, a functional medicine practitioner, and a physical therapist to your healthcare team. This podcast reflects my personal opinions based on extensive research and education. It is not intended for medical diagnosis or treatment and should never replace the advice from your doctor or other healthcare professionals. To continue providing this free information, I rely on your support. Follow, subscribe, like, and share this podcast with your family and friends, or on social media. Don't forget to turn on your notifications to stay updated whenever I have a new episode released. Educating you and empowering you to take back your health is my ultimate goal. By gathering knowledge and implementing small but impactful changes, you can reclaim your well-being. This is a journey, not a quick fix, so be kind to yourself, and I'll be there to help. You got this.